Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining me today. We're going to give all the registered attendees a chance to get logged in before we get started. I hope your Thursday is going well. I believe it's Thursday. All these days kind of blend together right now, but that is just fine. So looks like we've got about half of our group on already. That's amazing. Thanks for joining me today. Give everyone a few more minutes to join us. So I'll start off just briefly here. Oh, hi, Alexis. Thanks for your kindness. That's so nice of you. If there's anyone on from the SNAWA executive panel, if you need to make any announcements, if you want to send me a message, I will either pass along the message if you want to type it, or I'll try to figure out how to promote you to a panelist to make that announcement, okay? All right. Well, I'd say let's go ahead and get started with the preliminaries here, okay? Good afternoon. My name is Kristin Tyler. I am a local Las Vegas attorney, and I know a lot of you on here, and I have to say I'm really excited to present to so many friends today. I've been talking at different bar events and legal events all over the country the past couple of years, but it's fun to be here with the hometown crew. So thank you for joining me, and here we go. So for those of you who don't know me, I am a trust and estate attorney here in town. I do mainly estate planning and probate. I'm a partner at Garmin Turner Gordon, really proud of that. And I want to give a shout out to all my GTG peeps that are on here with us today. In addition, about 2.5 years ago, I helped co-found a company called LAWCLERK. And for those of you who are not familiar with LAWCLERK, I'll tell you a bit more about that in a minute. But in a nutshell, it's a legal tech startup, and we're trying to help improve the way that, yes, okay, Jory, I see you. We have upcoming events to announce. Let me try to get you added at the end, okay, to do those announcements before we part ways. Thank you for noting that. Okay, so I've been traveling around talking about the benefits of outsourcing and how it can really help save lawyers time and make them more efficient. And so I'm happy to share some of that with you today. And bonus, we're gonna talk about the ethics of it to get you that all important ethics credit, okay? And yes, actually, Jory, if you do just want to type them there, I will absolutely read your announcements at the end. That would be great. Thank you for noting that in the comments. So here we go. Ethics of outsourcing. Let me get the PowerPoint up. And away we go. Okay. All right. If somebody can't see that, send me a note in the chat, but I've been doing quite a few of these. I think I've got it down. So, okay. So I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a lawyer, I'm an entrepreneur, I've got a lot of stuff going on. And so I am all about outsourcing and getting help anywhere I can to save myself time, to maximize my time and live the kind of life I want to live. And so I hope to share some of those tips for you here today. And yes, they are mainly geared at your law practice and ways that you can boost your law practice, but certainly there might be things here that carry over to your personal lives too. So think of it both ways, and I hope that it is helpful. Okay, real quickly on LAWCLERK. Hopefully by now you've heard of LAWCLERK. If not, then I'm really not doing my job well. But in a nutshell, what we do is help match up busy attorneys with our network of freelance lawyers for project-based work, project by project. So it's outsourcing substantive legal work to freelance lawyers. In the last 2.5 years, we have quickly grown to now include over 5,000 lawyers in our network, and we're in all 50 states. And so there's obviously a ton more information about that on our website. We have a bunch of webinars really focused on LAWCLERK coming up. We're not here to talk just about LAWCLERK today. What we're here to talk about is, try to get my chat up. Oh, give me 1 second here, someone's got. Okay, fantastic, I've got those there. Okay, so what we're here to talk about today is growth, okay, law firm growth. You know, I think a lot of you are hopefully here today because you're trying to find ways to grow your firm and to help more clients. And it may seem like that has become even more challenging with COVID and everything we're going through right now, but there are still a lot of resources and a lot of tools out there to help get you the type of help you need to hit those growth goals and continue to build your firm, okay? So when you think about law firm growth, you know, that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. For some people, it means more clients. It means more dollars. Maybe you're trying to find ways to bill more hours, to spend less time on administrative work. Maybe you're trying to build your expertise to charge an higher hourly rate, or maybe you simply want more time away from your computer living your life. You feel like you've been working too hard and you want to get help to quit working as many hours. So growth can mean a lot of things to a lot of different lawyers. So think about what it means to you. Those of you who are here today who have started your own law firm, maybe you're still a solo or you've been a part of building a firm from the ground up, know that when you start a firm, you do everything, okay? When you open the doors to your own law firm, oftentimes you are answering the phones, you are drafting all the discovery requests, you are preparing and mailing out bills, you're doing all the things because you are new and you're just getting started, and that's the way you hustle to build your company. But as time goes on, you will start to realize that, as Kermit the Frog says here, you can do all of the things some of the time, and you can do some of the things all of the time, but you can't do all of the things all of the time, especially if you're focused on growing your firm. And so I know this can be a challenge for a lot of us who are, high energy, really motivated. We want to be, the heart and soul of our business, of our law firm. But at some point, you're going to have to find some other tools and some other team members to help you along the way. So let me get up on my soapbox, even though I'm kind of already there. If you want to start growing your firm, you got to stop doing everything yourself, okay? And I think it's helpful to think of a non-legal example when we kind of try to put this into perspective, okay? So when I think of one of the most successful, powerful forces in the world, an entertainer comes to mind, and hopefully most of you know her. It's Beyonce, and I think I even put her name in the title of the program. Yeah, so you probably knew this was coming. But when you think about Beyonce, I mean, she is just crazy, wild, successful. She has done so much with her career. But let's break it down. How successful do you think Beyonce would be if she insisted on writing every song herself, singing all the backgrounds, designing and making every outfit? If she insisted on doing her own hair, I mean, gosh, that hair must take hours. If she insisted on negotiating every contract for every concert, if she wanted to design the ticket stubs for every event, I mean, I think you get the point that I'm trying to make. If you try to do all the things yourself, you're going to hold yourself back from the success you can attain if you surround yourself with good people and empower them to do good work, okay? So outsourcing is the key, whether you're a world famous entertainer like Beyonce or you're an attorney trying to grow your business. So keep Beyonce in mind, and maybe check in with yourself if you find yourself telling yourself stories like, I have to do this, I have to do this. Do you really have to do it yourself? Okay. So how can you get the help you need to grow your firm? From my perspective, I think there's two main ways: technology, which is wonderful, and your team. And thanks to the magic of outsourcing, there's a lot of opportunities for you to leverage both of those combined, technology and team, to get that growth and get that help. And outsourcing is just the perfect fit for both of those. What are some of the reasons you might want to outsource? Like we've been talking about, you want to grow your firm. You want to cut back on some of your own stress. Maybe you want to make more money this year, or maybe you want the ability to collaborate with certain areas of expertise on some cases. These are all great reasons to outsource, and there's many, many more that we can spend a lot of time on, but let's just keep going. Okay, so before we go any further, I want everyone to do a quick exercise. I think this is really helpful to not only listen to the presentation, but try to apply it to things you're facing on your own to-do list right now. So before we go any further, write down 3 tasks that you've been procrastinating. And maybe you've been putting them off because either you don't have time, you don't really want to do them, whatever the reason may be. But think about, I'm sure every lawyer on here has way more than 3 things that are on their list, okay? So actually I'm not gonna do my 3, but I hope that you will take a minute here. I'm gonna pause and I want you to physically get a piece of paper out, write down 3 things on your to-do list that you have been unable to complete, whether it's due to lack of time or lack of wanting to do it. So we'll give you just a minute here. Okay, hopefully you've jotted down your 3 things. And so, again, looking at these, if you had to write a reason next to each of them, why those things haven't gotten done, is it lack of time, lack of not wanting to do it? Do you feel like your time is better spent doing other things? Let's keep these things in mind as we go forward, okay? Another reason is maybe you don't have people or resources on your team to help you get those done. So, delegation can be intimidating at first. I'm constantly surprised at how many lawyers I talk to who are really scared to delegate work to other people. But if you don't have someone on your team right now who could help you with any of those 3 tasks that you could delegate those to, where would you go to get that help? Okay, so next to the 3 tasks on this next slide, I want you to think about where you would go. So there's a lot of different resources that, like, especially when you look at a larger law firm, they have a lot of different roles. It's not just all lawyers, okay? They have assistants, legal assistants that help with calendaring, that help with getting things mailed out, that help with getting messages returned to clients. They have receptionists that answer the phone and can do a lot of other tasks as well. They have people that just straight up type. If you're a terrible typer, there are outsourced resources to help you get help with typing projects if you like to dictate. Office manager or marketing help. There's a lot of resources there. Paralegals and attorneys. So with all of these roles, yes, you could hire this as a full-time actual human body in your office. But you can also collaborate with these people in a freelance role from time to time, in a virtual role where they don't come into your physical office. You know, the virtual receptionist is a great example of that. But there's a lot of options on how you get these different types of help, these different roles, thanks to technology. Okay, so if you didn't already, look at your list of things that you need to get done and think about which of these roles might do that work for you if you had access to that type of a team member, either full-time or in a freelance virtual type role. Okay. My guess is that you're probably writing next to a lot of those tasks that you would delegate those to an associate attorney, a freelance lawyer, if you had access to one, because a lot of the most time-consuming work that we have as lawyers is the substantive legal work, and that's where a lot of lawyers are struggling to find the help they need. In the past, we have, you know, often as a legal community, turned to what's called a contract lawyer. It's another lawyer, you know, in the community who maybe is in your same practice area or similar practice area that you can call up from time to time when you need help. The problems with that are, number one, what happens if they don't happen to have the expertise you need? Number two, they're busy or they're sick or they aren't taking on more work right now. It can be hard for people to find the help that they need in a freelance capacity when they need it, which is one of the big reasons why we built LawCLERK, okay? So maybe you're convinced now after looking at your to-do list that you could really benefit from some freelance legal help. But maybe you're also still like, gosh, should I hire that associate or not? You know, there's a lot of pros and cons to both hiring a full-time associate in the office. And of course, there's pros and cons to trying something new, to trying collaborating with a freelance lawyer in a virtual type way. So, you know, some of the pros to working with an attorney in the office with you, and yeah, maybe that's, you're both at home offices and you communicate by FaceTime or Zoom or whatever, but you know, the pros of having someone full-time on your team in the office is that you have someone that's available to go to court or to meet with clients face-to-face. It's always nice to have someone that you can sit down, have a cup of coffee, talk about cases with. The cons of the traditional associate are that it can lead to really high overhead for a law firm. And I'm sure law firms are really taking a close look at their overhead right now with everything going on. You have to pay that associate even when you're slow. And I hear from so many lawyers across the country that they haven't been able to pay themselves because they're still paying their payroll to their full-time employees. And so that's definitely a very high level consideration you need to make before making a full-time hire. I also hear a lot of feedback from lawyers that they find full-time associates to cause a lot of drama, and inevitably they lead to turnover because all too often that associate that you bring up and train will leave and become your competitor someday. Now, of course, on the virtual side, cons right away, let's face those. It can be intimidating to try something new, to not really be sure how it's going to work out. But the pros of working with someone in a freelance capacity is that you'll only pay when you need help. You only pay them when they're actually doing work for you. You sometimes are able to tap into someone who has really vast experience levels, maybe even more than you have yourself. And they might even be somewhat of an expert on a certain subject matter in a certain area of law. So lots of pros and cons. Weigh those out for yourself when you decide which route is best for you to get the help you need to grow your firm. Okay. So I found also as I've traveled talking about LawCLERK to a lot of attorneys that there's a lot of misperceptions about freelance lawyers. And so I kind of like to bring those up and just address the elephant in the room. You know, one of the misperceptions I hear is that people say, well, who are these freelancers? Why can't they get a real job? First off, I don't know what a real job is when it comes to being a lawyer, because I think a law degree is one of the most versatile degrees that you could have that can allow you to do virtually anything you want. And so, you know, maybe they're not a lawyer working in a law firm full-time like you have done in your career, or as, you know, a lot of attorneys do in their career. But the freelancers I meet are incredibly talented. They are people that often, you know, due to life circumstances, whether they're taking care of kids, they're taking care of sick parents, their military spouses getting moved around. They need the flexibility to work in a freelance capacity. A lot of them are solos themselves that come on and freelance work when their own practice inevitably ebbs and flows. So that's another factor to consider. But the freelancers definitely have real jobs. They are just very intentionally charting their own career path and making the choices that are best for them and their families. So another common misperception is some people say, well, it just takes too much time to delegate. I'll do it myself. Have you ever done that? Surely you've had some, either at home or at the office, there's been a point in your career where you've said, oh, well, it'll just take too much time to explain. I'll do it myself. Okay, let's break that down for just a second, because the reality is, let's say you have a really complicated appellate brief that needs to be written, and you've lived and breathed this case for years, and you know it inside and out. And you're debating maybe hiring a freelance lawyer to come in and draft that brief for you, just to get a fresh set of eyes, a fresh set of thoughts on the case. But then you think, oh my gosh, I would have to spend hours getting this freelance lawyer up to speed. Okay, that's true. You would probably have to, for a project of that magnitude, you would probably need to spend upwards of at least an hour talking with them about the case, the big issues, sharing the documents they would need to review. But even if it is an hour or 2 hours, and then the freelance lawyer goes and drafts that appellate brief for, say, 25 or 30 hours, you've cut yourself out of 25 to 30 hours of work actually drafting the brief by investing an hour or two at the start to get them teed up, ready for success. And then of course you'll have some time on the back end too to review the document, make edits, add additional facts. But overall, you're saving yourself well over 20 hours of work that you would be doing yourselves. And that frees you up to be in court arguing for other clients or meeting with potential new clients. So don't let yourself get fooled into believing that it takes too much time to delegate. And one of the last misperceptions I hear about outsourcing or delegating work is a lot of lawyers say, well, my clients want me to do all their work. They hired me, so they expect me to do all of the work. Yes, they do. Your client expects you to be there for the big turning points in the case, for court hearings, trials, mediations, depositions, settlement negotiations. But they also trust you to know and use your own judgment when it's best for you to delegate in certain aspects of that case to other people on your team. Again, whether they're in your office or in a virtual capacity. And so at the end of the day, the client is hiring you to be there for the big points in the case, and they trust your judgment for all of the other pieces of work that need to get done, and they know that you'll do the best job for them, even when that best job involves delegating some of the work to another team member. So hopefully that put to rest some of those misperceptions that you may have had coming into this. So, all right, real quick, let's go through some of the benefits of freelance lawyers, because they're countless, but here's 5 or 6 that I think are really key to tee up. So number 1, freelance lawyers can help you make more money. Yes, you heard that correctly. Using freelance lawyers and delegating to them can help you make more money. Right now, there's really an overabundance of legal talent out there that is just ready and willing to be put to work. And this is something that if you're burning the midnight oil, working too many hours, you can tap into this and leverage it to make more money. We'll get into the economics of this later on, and also the ethics rules, of course. But, you know, I have talked to countless lawyers all over the country. One comes to mind from the East Coast, who he used to employ upwards of 11 associates, had a big team, and he's cut it back significantly to now he only works with freelance lawyers. And he shared that last year he actually grossed $75,000 more money than he did when he had the big firm with all of the expenses. And so it's really been a way for him to be a lean, mean machine and function in a very high and profitable method. So that's really exciting. Okay, another benefit of freelance lawyers, expertise. Okay, you can really expand your practice area expertise by outsourcing. You can meet your client's needs. You can remain their go-to person to answer a variety of issues that may come up. And so let's say, I have another example. This is actually a local attorney came to us and said, hey, I'm working on this writ to the U.S. Supreme Court, and there's one issue in this writ that me and my team need some help with. We need to find someone with expertise on this one particular issue of constitutional law. Through the platform, they were able to connect with another lawyer in the Pacific Northwest who had a really deep knowledge on this one specific issue, and they were able to come in and do some additional research and analysis for the hiring lawyer, boost that brief, that writ, and really make a great argument for the client. And so that's a way you can collaborate with another lawyer who maybe has a certain expertise that you need just for that one client, that one case, that one brief, whatever it may be. You can collaborate to do an even better job for your client than you could do on your own. Benefit number 3, it leads to flexible staffing. You can get the help you need when you need it without having to pay someone all the time. And so this is a great way for you to scale up and scale down, as again, your practice may ebb and flow. But it can also be a great way for you to scale your practice. You know, if maybe you think you're close to being ready to hire a full-time associate, and ideally you'd like that associate, great, I get it. This is a good way for you to test it out, to kind of see what it's like to collaborate with another lawyer, divert some of your work to them to get more work done, to build up to the point where you're confident you're able to hire someone full-time. So it can be a really great tool to staff and get the help you need. Another great example on this, I was talking to a lawyer who does primarily estate planning work like me, and he was having a growing need to help clients with immigration-related matters. He had a lot of business owners that were immigrants and had immigration issues coming up, and he wanted to be their go-to person. He was committed to doing the work to learn that practice area, but he needed some help from other lawyers who had deeper knowledge in these areas that he could hire from time to time when these cases came up, because they weren't really steady. So he didn't really want to hire a full-time associate just to do the immigration work. He wanted to be able to collaborate with a freelance lawyer as those needs and those issues came up from clients from time to time. And so for that lawyer, being able to collaborate and hire immigration lawyers on a case-by-case basis when needed for clients was a great solution to achieve that flexible staffing. Another benefit, if you are looking for ways to get rid of the billable hour, and I hear more and more lawyers saying this, that they're sick of the billable hour, they want to find different ways to do this, they want to offer flat fees, hybrid fees, they want to be more competitive when it comes to their fee structure, then working with freelancers, again, can be another great solution, because a lot of the freelance lawyers themselves will do work on a flat fee basis. And so if you are trying to build flat fees into your pricing model, collaborating with freelance lawyers who can do work for you on a flat fee model as well is a great fit and can solve a lot of problems. Of course, working with freelancers is a great way for you to keep your own costs low because you're not driving up your overhead, and that in turn will make you more competitive in the market if you're competing for clients. You know, outsourcing, as we talked about, is much more economical than hiring attorneys because of the overhead costs, and those savings can be passed along to your clients, and that's a win-win. So definitely keep in mind that competitive advantage. And last, but certainly not least, another huge benefit of getting the help you need through outsourcing is striving for work-life well-being. If you know me in real life, you've probably heard me at one point or another rant and rave about how much I dislike the word balance, because I think it's really unrealistic for any attorney to strive for perfect harmony and balance. That's what balance implies to me, that things are equal and in balance. And it's just really impossible for lawyers to do that. Yes, there are going to be times that your work life is more demanding and it requires more of your energy and your focus. And there's going to be times where you need to pay more attention to your personal life and deal with personal things. So things are going to go back and forth. And having the ability to tap into the time and talent of freelance lawyers when you need them, whether you're super busy or you just want to get some work done off your plate because you don't want to do it, you want to go on vacation with your family, this can be a great solution to help you achieve better work-life well-being. So those are just a few of the many benefits of freelance lawyers, and I could probably teach a whole session just on that. But let's go on to what I know you're all here for, okay? Let's get you that ethics credit. I'm no dummy. I know that this is a big draw of any CLE if you can get that coveted ethics credit. And so one of the biggest questions that we get anywhere we go to talk about outsourcing is, well, is outsourcing ethical, or what do I need to be careful about? And so let's talk about that right now. I will share that if you happen to have a really deep interest in this topic, or if maybe you happen to also be licensed in another state, you're licensed in Utah, Arizona, California, and you want to know the specific outsourcing ethics rules as they pertain to those states, if you go to the LAWCLERK website, we have a really extensive white paper that goes state by state and does the analysis for every single state. So if you need more information on an additional state, by all means, please go check that out. So when we look at ethics, there's really 4 key rules that you need to take a look at. And then we'll also look at how you are ethically able to make money off of this business model. So first one, confidentiality, okay? Rule 1.6, and the Nevada rules do mirror the model rules here. It establishes the baseline confidentiality obligations for any lawyer. And of course, as we all know, it says that a lawyer shall not reveal information relating to the representation of a client. Okay, so how does this pertain now if you're working with another lawyer in a outsourced capacity. So the ABA has issued a couple of ethics opinions that really dive into that, and I've listed those opinions here. It's 88-356 and 8-451. In brief, what these opinions say is that an outsourcing attorney or an outsourcing law firm does not necessarily need to obtain client consent in an engagement agreement as long as they are closely managing and supervising a freelance lawyer and they exercise a high degree of supervision and control. Okay, so you don't have to disclose to the client that you are using that freelance lawyer because the freelance lawyer is already bound to their own duty of confidentiality. Of course, you should also clear them from conflicts before you start working with them as well. We'll talk about that more later on. But to the extent that the freelance lawyer will either operate with a high degree of independence or even engage in the practice of law directly on the client's behalf, that's when you do need to get the client's consent. And so if you are thinking about building outsourcing into your business model, again, maybe it's outsourcing freelance lawyers, paralegals, whatever it may be, a best practice is to go ahead and build language into your engagement agreement that you use for every single client that authorizes you to use your discretion to hire freelance or virtual freelance lawyers to help manage certain aspects of their case from time to time. So we have some sample language on that on our website, or I'm happy to email it to you. But again, to make sure that you're fully compliant with confidentiality and your client knows how you're going to manage that case, go ahead and put that in your engagement agreement. Now, on the flip side, on the confidentiality, another good practice there is if you're hiring a freelance lawyer or a contract lawyer, whatever you want to call them, consider having them sign some sort of a non-disclosure agreement about the case, especially if it's high profile. Through the LAWCLERK platform, we do have a confidentiality agreement built into every single project that our freelancers work on, but certainly from time to time we have clients who want to require additional non-disclosure documents beyond that. You can absolutely do that. So if you're doing this on your own, definitely get something like an NDA in place. That's just a best practice. Question came in on the chat. Do you need to disclose the fact that you might be using the freelance lawyer? You do not need to unless, let's say you were, again, this is going to be a kind of a crazy example because of what's going on right now, but in California or the East Coast, it's very common to hire appearance counsel, because if you are a lawyer in Los Angeles, it could take hours for you to drive from one courthouse to another, and it doesn't make sense for you to drive. So a lot of lawyers will hire appearance counsel to go attend court hearings for them. Of course, now we're all living on Blue Jeans and Zoom and doing video court appearances, so that kind of solves that problem. But if you were hiring someone to do appearance work, that would obviously be causing them to engage in the practice of law. That would need to be required, consented to by the client in writing, okay? But if the attorney that you're hiring is going to be doing work like drafting work, research, helping with discovery, and doing that work under your close and direct supervision, then you do not have to disclose it, is what the rules say, okay? Okay, next rule. If I can get my screen to advance. There we go. Unauthorized practice of law. That's just going to be a little bit related to what we were just talking about. But, of course, we all have to be careful in, sorry, got mixed up here, and making sure that anytime we're asking someone to do work that would cause them to engage in the practice of law and offer legal advice, that they are properly licensed in the state. So the big factor, as we kind of were just heading on, is to look at what kind of work you need help with. If you need help with other attorneys taking depositions for clients, meeting with clients directly, obviously those types of actions cause them to engage in the practice of law, and that triggers a whole different set of rules. But if, like I said, you are having attorneys help you with the really time-consuming substantive work like drafting, research, organizing and sorting out discovery, because they're doing that type of work under your supervision, it opens it up so that you could hire a lawyer who maybe isn't licensed in Nevada in our jurisdiction to help you with that work, because they are working in the capacity of a paraprofessional under your supervision. And so that's the really key differentiator to keep in mind is the work they're going to do cause them to engage in the practice of law or not, and then proceed accordingly. Okay, and again, closely related to this, oversight, okay? Duty of supervision. We have this whether we are delegating work to a lawyer or a non-lawyer in our law firm. And this comes under Model Rule 5.1 and 5.3. So I know a lot of lawyers, I think, we're problem solvers ourselves, and we would love to just delegate this complicated motion and give it to a freelance lawyer and then forget about it. And you can't forget about it. You have to stay actively involved, oversee their work. Of course, we're closely review any written work before it goes out. So that duty of supervision does not go away, and please do be mindful of that. Another great question that just came in: should the attorney keep a log of contract staff work on particular files/clients and what work performed? I think that's a great solution. You know, one of the ways that you may be able to actually log that is through your billing, and I'll address that here in a minute. But certainly, if you know whatever practice management software, or if it's just a paper file, I would definitely encourage you to keep track of who you collaborated with on different pieces of work. If you're outsourcing and delegating to a variety of different freelance lawyers or paralegals or whoever, definitely keep record of who's working on that case in case you have to go back and recall that years later for whatever reason. But oftentimes, because you are able to develop that work, and I'm just about to that slide, those billing records are also going to be key to help you remember who was working on what case. Okay, next duty is the duty of competency, and I try to get a clown here. You don't want to be a clown, okay? So the duty of competency basically says that a lawyer shall provide competent representation to a client. Okay, it's pretty simple. Competent representation requires the legal knowledge, skill, thoroughness, and preparation reasonably necessary for the representation. So what does this mean in practical terms, okay? This means stay in your lane, people, okay? If you are a criminal lawyer, a criminal defense lawyer, and you've practiced only criminal defense your whole career, and suddenly you have a potential client come to you with an IP litigation case, that is pretty far outside your area of core competency. Like, yeah, I'm sure you've got great trial skills, but like IP, you're going to be better off collaborating, either co-counseling or referring that matter on to an IP specialized lawyer rather than trying to bring in a freelance lawyer and having them help you through the case, okay? So if it's like nowhere near close to your core area of competency, keep in mind that those types of issues or cases for new clients, you're probably better off referring out, or at least co-counseling. Co-counseling can be a great solution, especially if it's an area that you want to learn more about to potentially add to your own practice. Okay, another example. Let's say you're a family law attorney and you have a client who you helped with a divorce a couple of years back, and now they're coming back to you and they have, they just bought a rental property and they need a lease agreement. Okay, a lease agreement is a basic enough contractual document that I think pretty much any lawyer could take that on. You just may not have a lease document in your set of forms in your files because you're primarily doing family law work. That would be a great thing to consider outsourcing and collaborating with freelance lawyers, saying, hey, here's the specs I need in this lease agreement. Can you get this drafted up? And then you can help get that for the client, because that's a great way for you to still be that client's go-to person to help them solve a variety of legal issues. But be mindful of your core competency, and if it's really far outside your normal wheelhouse, think about either collaborating with a co-counsel or referring that matter on. Okay, so be competent. That's what we're trying to get there. Okay, so here is what I think is the most exciting slide in the bunch. The big question: can lawyers make money via outsourcing? The answer is yes, okay? And if you are a solo attorney or if you're at a small firm, this is a game changer, so pay attention. Okay, the ethics rules, which is primarily 1.5 in this opinion here, the ethics rules, opinions, and case law all overwhelmingly say that yes, you can charge a reasonable market rate for work performed by freelance lawyers. The key here is a reasonable market rate. Okay, in the formal opinion 00-420 from the ABA Standing Committee on Ethics, the Standing Committee agreed with the U.S. Supreme Court that attorneys may bill the services of contract lawyers or freelance lawyers to their clients at prevailing market rates as long as the rates satisfy Rule 1.5's reasonableness requirement. So what does this mean? This means that solo attorneys and small firms can outsource work to freelance lawyers and leverage those freelance lawyers' time and talent to bring additional money into their firms the same way that big law has been making fortunes off of its, legions of associates for decades. And so it's really a game changer, and I think it's super exciting. So let's look at some numbers here to make this come to life and help you think about what this might mean for you. So let's say that you have a motion for summary judgment, and you got a busy week, you got a lot of court hearings, You don't have time to draft this motion for summary judgment, and the deadline's coming up. Plus, you've already written like 5,000 motions for summary judgment in your career, and you really don't want to write another one. This would be a great thing for you to outsource to a freelance lawyer. Let's say that you, the freelance lawyer, and you agree to do the work for a flat fee of $1,000. Okay, the freelance lawyer is going to do that work for you. At the end, they're still going to provide you a time card, and that is automatically required and provided through a platform like LAWCLERK. Let's say that the freelancer reports they worked 8.5 hours. And you determine based on their credentials and the type of case that a reasonable market rate is $200. This means that you could bill that freelancer's time at a reasonable market rate to your client, 8.5 times 200, $1,700 billed to the client. Keep in mind, you paid the freelancer $1,000, but you're still generating an additional profit of $700 for your firm. Now imagine if you could replicate this on different types of work every week, every month, over the course of a year. That can generate a significant amount of additional income into your firm. Plus, it's going to free up your own time to do the things that your time is better spent doing, like being in court, meeting with new clients, going to your kids' t-ball game, whatever it may be. And so it's really just a win-win all the way around, especially when you find great freelancers that you can collaborate with time and time again to get that work done. So this is a great example. Now, what are some things that go into a reasonable market rate? Obviously, our rates here in Nevada are going to be different than rates in New York, are going to be different than rates in LA. So obviously, the geographics of that area is going to go in as one of the factors. You're also going to consider the practice area. You know, different practice areas charge certain premiums. And so these are things you might want to take a look at. And I just saw a question. Sorry, I'm trying to find it. Chat, okay. I'm having a hard time finding this. I'm sorry, give me a second. Okay. Once I stop the screen share, I will see your question in chat, so I'll come back to it if we don't answer along the way. But this is the big thing to keep in mind if you are trying to figure out a way to still get the help you need. You want to do it with an outsourced virtual freelance lawyer, and you want to grow your firm and make some more money. This is the formula right here. And so keep in mind that reasonableness requirement, and you will be golden. Okay, moving along, and I'm going a little quick here, so I hope you guys will have plenty of questions at the end. But I always like to share a few suggestions to set you up for success if outsourcing and delegation is new to you. So here are my 6 steps for success. Step number 1. Let it go. All right. If you happen to have a small child that lives in your household like I do, you have undoubtedly seen the movie Frozen and heard Queen Elsa sing the song Let It Go. And that's one of the things that you need to do. So many lawyers that I talk to have the belief that they and they alone are the one magical lawyer who can write this motion or this agreement or this letter or whatever it may be that can do this work for the client. And yes, you have magical powers, but there are other lawyers who have magical powers too and can help you get a lot of that written work done and save you some time. And so one of the first steps in going down the path of outsourcing and getting the help you need, if you've never done it before, is to try to change your own mindset, let it go, know that there are people out there that can do amazing work and help you along the way. And so part of this is, to figure out which tasks in your day-to-day job do you enjoy doing that you want to keep doing, and which tasks would you like to delegate and never do again. And so a great way to think through that and come up with a list of ideal tasks to delegate and outsource is for you to actually just look at your prior month's billing records, go through your bills and see which entries, which jobs did you enjoy working on and which projects, and what tasks did you not enjoy working on, or you just don't have time because they take too long. And those are really great things for you to consider outsourcing the next time they come around in your practice. Okay, number 2, plan ahead. So one of the common ways that I see lawyers get frustrated with outsourcing or delegation is when they finally, they're maybe up against the clock and they've got a huge deadline coming up and they've run out of time themselves to write the motion or the brief or whatever. And so their solution is to hire a freelance lawyer to magically write this, award-winning motion in less than 24 hours, okay? That is just a recipe for missing the mark on both sides, okay? As much as possible in your own workflow, when you're considering outsourcing work to freelance lawyers, plan ahead. And this goes for whether it's someone in your office or someone outside your office you're working with in a virtual type relationship. So giving yourself and your freelancer enough time to do their best work is going to make everyone much happier with the end result. Now, we realize this isn't always possible, and there are going to be times where you need help last minute. But hopefully, you know, for the first couple of times that you're trying out outsourcing, don't push the boundaries of time and space, okay? Give yourself enough time to make sure you do really great work. And the same for your freelancer. And then once you've completed a few documents together or whatnot, you see how each other works. That's when you can kind of pick up the speed and maybe try to push it when you do have those rush jobs, okay? But by and large, give each other the time you need to succeed. Tip number 3, find a talented freelancer, okay? For some simple freelance legal jobs, you know, really almost any lawyer will do document review, maybe certain types of research, but for other lawyers, you need to make sure you find the right person. And so let's talk about this from two perspectives. If you're a do-it-yourselfer and you want to go hire your own contract lawyer through your own network, great. There's a lot of people out there, especially now, willing to do freelance work. The things that I think you need to look at would include, of course, their resume to see their background, make sure they're actually a lawyer on the State Bar website. That's always a helpful one too. You might, of course, want to ask for a couple of writing samples. You may even want to ask for some references from other attorneys that they've worked with. I also know that a lot of lawyers will go online to different social media review sites, Yelp, Ava, whatever, to see how the attorney has been rated for their work in the past. So that's, if you're doing it yourself, trying to find someone through, I've heard of lawyers trying to hire freelancers through Craigslist, through Twitter, through other social media sites. There's a lot of ways to find lawyers willing to do freelance work. Now, the beauty of working with a platform like LawCLERK is we provide all of those things for you at the touch of your fingertips, okay? You're going to see that when the freelancer applies to work on your project, you're going to see their resume. You're going to be given a writing sample immediately. You're going to see their reviews and ratings from the other attorneys that they're doing work for. And then we've already done the step of verifying that they are an attorney in good standing with their state bars. So definitely we help make all of that much easier when you're doing your due diligence to make sure that you have the right freelancer for the job. But those are the key things you want to be sure to consider when hiring a freelance lawyer. Okay, number 4. Another great way to maybe get over any mental hurdles that you have about delegating and outsourcing is to limit the freelancer's role. And so, like I said, one of the best ways to do that is to limit their role to only doing work for you under your direct supervision, where they have no direct impact on the case, meaning that they can't talk to the client, they can't talk to the judge, they can't talk to the opposing counsel. They're not going to court or going to depositions. They're simply doing the work in the background that needs to get done to move the case ahead, but they're doing it under your supervision. So, for example, maybe you have a huge research project where you need someone to go through and look at how a certain doctrine or statute is treated in all 50 states and give you a memo. Like, that would take hours and hours. That'd be a great thing to delegate. Of course, any sort of work related to discovery is another very time-consuming task that would be well worth considering for delegation. So when we talk about discovery, we see attorneys using discovery for document review, making transcripts of, or summaries of deposition transcripts, preparing discovery requests or helping prepare responses. I have a lot of family law lawyers who get, they send out the interrogatories to their client and they get back a 14 or 15 or more page Word document, single space, it's always single space, with all of the client's responses to these interrogatories. And of course, most of them are very emotionally charged. That's a great time for a freelancer with a fresh set of eyes to come in, sort through that lovely single space Word document, sort out the relevant objections and responses to those interrogatories and form those up for you. So, and then of course, motion work, pleading work, briefs, contracts, agreements, letters, any sort of written document is a great thing that you can delegate to another lawyer to get it off your to-do list, but still limiting their role and limiting their ability to have direct impact on the case because you are supervising everything they do. Okay. Step number 5, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but despite the fact that we now have thousands of lawyers on our network, we still have not found a single one who can read minds. And so because of that, it's definitely going to be to your advantage and to the advantage of the freelancer to set crystal clear expectations at the start of every piece of work. So what does this involve? This involves making sure that the freelancer understands the key issues involved, they have the documents that they need to review before they can start doing the work you need them to do, that they have the chance to ask you questions, and you should always make sure and leave the door open for them to come back to you if they have questions about the work partway through. Open and continual communication is really critical to the success of any sort of collaboration and working together with an outsourced freelance lawyer. So definitely set the expectations for the freelancer of what you hope to see with their final work product. Now, on the flip side, I also think it's important for any attorney who's never gotten help before or never delegated work to someone else to manage their own expectations. Without fail, I've met some lawyers who, you know, were outraged that the freelance lawyer came back and, you know, had this 20-page memo written, but that the hiring a lawyer still had to spend a whole hour, you know, making a few edits on it. You have to expect to still spend some of your own time at the end of the work once you get the work product back from the freelancer to put your own touch on it, okay? To edit it, to add additional facts that maybe you only know from working on the case for years or meeting with the client for hours. And so yes, you're going to need to expect to invest a little bit of your own time at the start to tee them up for success, to also spend some time at the end reviewing the work product and getting it finalized. But as long as a freelance lawyer can get you 80 to 85% of the way done with that work, they're going to save you a lot of time. And that is really a home run. That's the whole goal here with outsourcing to get the help you need. So set clear expectations and be sure to manage your own expectations as well. All right. Last bit of advice for anyone who is considering outsourcing, especially outsourcing to someone in a virtual capacity, my advice is just go for it. There is certainly no time like the present to give this a try, to get the help that you need. One of the most common pieces of feedback I get from lawyers who are true solos, have never had any sort of help, that then try to collaborate with a freelance lawyer to get a document written, they're like, I wish I would have tried this sooner. That's what I hear time and time again. So if you're when waiting for a sign to give outsourcing a delegation a try, there's the sign right there. It says, do it now. That's the sign you've been waiting for. So, you know, a great way to start out is, if you're nervous about it, pick something simple. Okay, what are some simple things you could try? A lot of lawyers will try out delegating and outsourcing by having a freelance lawyer do a research project, a simple research project, or maybe have them write a demand letter, or maybe have them even write some blogs for your law firm website. If you haven't updated your website, you know, that's one of the best ways to keep your SEO strong and attract new clients, is to have fresh content coming up on your blog regularly. You could hire freelance lawyers, give them a list of blog topics and tell them to go. That's a great way for you to get some help and help build your business. So start with a simple project, but we also have a lot of lawyers that start with outsourcing and delegating with big things like appellate briefs and complicated motions. So whatever it is that's been burning up your to-do list, maybe now's a good time for you to go back and look at those 3 things you wrote down. You know, are any of those a good candidate for you to try to outsource to a freelance lawyer? If so, today's the day. Give it a shot. So, okay, that wraps up my presentation, and this usually goes a full 50 minutes. So I apologize that we're a little bit early, but this is my email contact information. And again, I am a licensed Nevada lawyer, so I'm in the bar directory too. But if you have specific questions about any of this, or you want examples related to your practice area, just shoot me an email, ktyler@lawclerk.legal. I would be happy to help answer some questions that you may have. Also, we have a number of upcoming webinars that will be on our website and our social media. If you are looking for more information about any of these topics, we're going to be having an upcoming webinar specifically on outsourcing as it relates to bankruptcy lawyers, one specifically on how it relates to family law lawyers. Those would be great for you to attend. And before we get to a couple of housekeeping items, I just want to invite you, if you haven't already, connect with us on social media, either with me directly or with the company. And last but not least, I really appreciate SNAWA giving me this time to hopefully help you find ways you can get the help you need. And I do respect your time greatly. And so as a small thank you, I wanted to give everyone here a rebate code. It's SNAWA 2020. So SNAWA 2020. And what that will do is, if you use this code and complete a project on LawCLERK of at least $300 or more, we're going to send you a $50 Amazon gift card. So I'm sure everyone could use a few extra bucks on Amazon right now to get whatever it is you need delivered. So jot down that rebate code, and I hope you'll use it out. So I'm going to stop the share here, come back on and Oh, there's my chat. Okay. Housekeeping item number 1 is you're probably like, okay, great. I went to the ethics CLE. How do I get my credit now, lady? We, the CLE board said that we just have to print out a list of all of the people who registered and attended, and we'll email it to them. And you probably recall when you registered for the event today, you put your bar number. So they told us that was all we needed to get you the credit. Certainly if they come back and ask for something else, we'll get a message out to everyone, but we will handle sending in that credit for you. And let me take a look at the announcements that we had from Jory. Okay. Okay, so SNAWA reminders for all the SNAWA members. August 6th, there will be a Zoom with Jamie Houston, who is with Northwestern Mutual Life, and it is regarding insurance. So if you have interest in learning more about insurance, join them on August 6th, and I'm sure there'll be emails on that as well. September 3rd, oh, this will be fun. September 3rd, there will be a Zoom luncheon with the judges, and they're going to set up different meeting rooms. So if you want to go have lunch with one specific judge, ask questions, that would be a great one. They have tentatively set the date for the annual Miriam Shearing Gala for November 17th, and that there's a note here that may also be by Zoom with meeting rooms, but we'll see what the world's like in a few more months. And October 1 will be Meet the Candidates, also by Zoom. So lots of great upcoming SNAWA events and ways for you to connect with other lawyers in the legal community. Thank you, Jory. And I have a couple more questions here I will take on. The question is, do you have to disclose the other attorney's name or initials on your bill? You can't pretend that you did this work if you sent it out. You are absolutely right, and I'm glad you put that question. We encourage as a best practice that you do include the name, or at least even first initial last name of the freelancer that you're working with. For any of you who may use Clio as your practice management tool, LawCLERK has an integration with Clio that will take the time entries prepared by the freelance lawyer and automatically put them in your Clio pre-bill. It's pretty cool. The format for that, the way it shows up on the pre-bill is it says, you know, the date the work was performed, and then the billing description says something along the lines of LawCLERK A. Smith researched and prepared memo regarding XYZ, you know, for 4.2 hours. The cool thing with that integration is it defaults the hourly rate to 0. So you see a big goose egg on that bill, and that's your mental prompt to go in and set that reasonable market rate. We don't try to set that reasonable market rate for you, but seeing that 0 will help you figure out the best rate for you. So absolutely a best practice to disclose the name. No reason to hide it. You're not doing anything wrong. You're collaborating with a talented lawyer to get the best possible work done for your client, and they should see that on their bill. Absolutely. Oh, Dara, you asked, do we want each person to sign in? That is also related to the CLE credit, I believe, and my understanding, we can pull an attendee list from Zoom. That's what we're going to send into the CLE credit. So that I confirmed with them twice in emails, not just once, but twice. They said, I want to make sure that if I send you this list, that's good enough for the credit. And they said yes. So I believe we have you covered. But again, if there's any problems, either myself or someone from SNAWA will reach out to help get those cleared up. So. Well, thank you again for your time today. I hope it was useful. I hope it gave you some food for thought and ways that you can reach out to get the help you need. The last thing I will just say is, you know, I think a lot of us are wearing so many extra hats right now, especially those months in the spring where a lot of us were dealing with kids in school at home too, in addition to law practices. So just I want to encourage you all to give yourself some grace. Okay, it's okay to get the help you need. I hope you will, and I hope you will grow your firm to new heights this year. And I hope that you'll help a lot more clients, because there's definitely a lot of legal issues out there, and lawyers now more than ever can have a big impact on our world. So thank you for joining me. You are free to go. I'll hang around if anyone else has any questions. Thank you.